tend to go into depression. A lot of our young people went into depression, and they have to go through the 7 stages. The last stage, of course, as you know, is acceptance, but they are not there yet. Again, like I said, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. Half of America have not gotten over the 2019. What year did Biden came? They've not gotten over that particular election because half of America thought that Trump won. So it's not really, when I'm using the terms, it's not to denigrate our young ones. It happens all over the world. Even at our age, I know people who have not accepted the 1979 election that Shagari won. So that will probably go on for the next 30, 40 years. That's an aside. The reason why I'm optimistic at 34% is what I've told you. A lot of people will stay back because a lot of people came out because they were driven by a particular agenda. That agenda was not achieved. And because it was not achieved, they see no reason.
So you don't think that all of the promises that INEC made is enough to make them want to believe in the system once again? Even if the beavers worked, RF worked, the result will probably be the same. Some people will still not come out. But as I'm saying, let us, for the sake of arguments, agree. Hold on. Okay. Let us, for the sake of argument, agree that everything worked. And the result was still the same. Some people will still not come out. Indeed, we know that there is that percentage of people who will not come out. Those who came out 3 weeks ago, that if we should have 35 to 40% turnout this time, I'll be very happy. So, based on that reality.
You know, 3 weeks ago, a lot of Nigerians had hope, very high hope that with so much that have been put into this election, it will be successful. Some persons who were at the polling unit had issues where they couldn't upload results to the IREF. And looking at what they did, they were even sharing data, even sharing their hotspot, just to make sure that that process is seen to a logical conclusion. How could it be that even when results couldn't go on the IREF, and yet results were being read, that election actually happened in some location? Don't you think the youths who were so much enthusiastic, like my colleague said, will be willing to come out?
Again, I like it when people own adjectives, but it's not true when you say most Nigerians. Some Nigerians have high hopes that the IRF or the other one will make a difference. But older folks like us know that in every election, the paper trail is more important. The paper trail starts from your, what do you call that? PVC? No, your PVC, the ballot paper, and then those who record it, those who announce it, until it gets to the final results. To a lot of Nigerians, the process was fine. The innovation was a distraction. They did fail in some areas, of course, but they did fail to such a level that will invalidate the results. Of course not. So that's why I keep saying that we keep living in a bubble created by the social media to think the entire world is about our world. It's not true. I traveled all over Nigeria simply because of the nature of my job. And I do know, like I told you earlier, that a substantial number of young Nigerians in starting part that is already lined down to go to court, despite the failure to upload on the beavers in some areas. So that's the problem we face. No same person will sit down and keep lamenting about what is past. When even the major players have, they were not asking. They are now getting from INEC proof of the paper trail of the election. That's what they are going to court with to show that they won. They are not going to the court saying that they are going to get IRF to tell them, no. We have to tell our viewers at home, because some people will take what we say as gospel truth and fly with it. So would you say that innovation of beavers isn't a step in the right direction for these elections? The introduction of any technology that make it easier. Personally, I wish that we go back to our phones. I want to vote from my bed. I want to take my Nigeria phone. Hasn't gotten to that point. Precisely. That you are now getting my point. Any new innovation will have hiccups. And because there will be
but doesn't mean we shouldn't try?
We tried.
But sir, you know,
we tried, but it's not the in-all and end-all that a lot of people are trying to make it look like.
But sir,
because I'm sorry, because like I said, the people who lost or who were perceived to have lost are going to court not because of RF. They are going to court because they are going to collate the papers that are available right now for the same election and take it to court to prove their case.
But the Beavers is also instrumental to what they're doing.
It's instrumental to whatever they've done, but they cannot go to court based solely on that. They still have to get the papers, the physical aspect of the election, and get it there.
Well, I'm just saying that Beavers has helped in moving the electoral process.
What Beavers has helped to do, which you and I know, is to reflect the true number
of the accredited voters. Which is, of course, a great improvement.
But you get a step at a time. It's not the day you were born that you start working. But people treat it as if because the Beaver failed, the election has failed. That is not true. That is ludicrous.
But you are quite aware that during the elections, some people said that when it comes to the National Assembly, what's it called, House of Assembly elections, it went through. But upon, uploading the presidential election, that was where the issue failed. Now the question is, why did it have to fail when it got to that particular point?
Because I drove my car to a place and the car was fine. And I entered the car back 2 hours later and the car refused to work. Remember, they are not going to use the same configuration for the two. This one is direct. This one is local. You have to understand that. They have to do 3 configurations for the elections. Presidential, House of Reps, and Senate. It's not the same collation. It's not the same thing that is done. So if 2 works and 1 did not work, I'm not saying it did not work or that the tamper, they don't quote me. I'm saying that let's work under the assumption that it truly failed. What has that changed anything fundamental from what the people who lost are going to take to court? It's still the question I'm asking people. Fine, let us forget all the conspiracy theories that people have been bantering about. Let us pretend that it truly failed on that day. Just for you and I, let's pretend it failed. Let's agree.
Are you saying it didn't fail?
No, let's agree that it failed. Because a lot of people have questions. Like I said, a lot of people, going to the toilet for some people is conspiracy theory. Because if the water does not flow, somebody somewhere must have sat down because they knew it was coming to the toilet and make sure the water did not flow. People are just happy to speculate. It's part of our curiosity. Are
you aware that there were areas where even the INEC officials were not able to operate the Beavers machine?
Precisely. That's what we said earlier. It is a machine. It is a machine. And they were trained to do it. If they failed, either the machine failed or the personnel failed, there is still failure. And that's what the court will decide.
So are you saying that we should have maybe gone the traditional way of using just the ballot papers?
We are still using the ballot papers. The technology is basically to ensure that whatever is captured at the polling booth is what will be reflected at the end of the day. It's not changing the fundamentals of voting at all. It's basically created to ensure that if I stay in my house at Ojokoro in Berkeley Estate and I voted, I can go to sleep knowing fully well that I can see it. The technology is not new. When you go for Hajj in Saudi Arabia, you can track your plane. You can track the way you are, the day you are going to be picked up. That's what people are asking for. So part of it failed. Fine. It will get better the next time. But it doesn't mean the world ended that day.
Okay, so you agree that it is a good innovation, but we have to improve on it.
Again, like every innovation, there will be downsides. And Jakonde said something that I hold very dear. He said the Nigerian politician is the smartest in the world. If you make a law in the morning, they are willing to break it by 12 noon. I can assure you, if I can pay you free money, that whatever surprises Beavers and RF threw up 3 weeks ago must have been neutralized by now.
Yeah, but I just want us to establish something. Are you saying that the Beavers innovation is a step in the right direction, but we need to be patient for it to be improved?
We need not only to be patient, we need to know that it has not replaced. It's basically to enhance. Because when people talk, including my brother here, is that that's the That's the lost stone. That is the, what is that thing in the Bible? That's the only grail. That's the only thing that guarantees that the election was free. No.
Let's move away from the beavers now and talk about the voters, especially when you look at the fact that there were threats, even recently from different, non-state actors saying that if you're not voting for a particular party, that you shouldn't come out to vote. How does that come to you in a state where we're trying to deal with voter apathy and we're trying to let people know that their votes will count?
How will he or his henchmen enforce that 7 million people will not come out to vote if they have the mind to?
But what confidence? Where's that confidence coming from in the first place?
I leave my house in the morning, I have no confidence I will return, but I still do it. People should learn that there will always be threats. It's up to you as the receiver of that threat to determine whether what you are going to do is worth it for you to go out and do it. Like I said, if there are no other ethnicities, and it's just between the Yoruba ethnic nation, there will still be threats based on indigenoship. There will be threats based on churches or mosques. There will always be threats. You cannot escape from it. The threats now may be ethnicized or religionized, but in a local government where they speak the same language, they go to the same church, they are from the same family, somebody will still wake up one day and say, if you don't vote for, because it's your senior brother, don't come out.
Yeah, but why shouldn't there be some form of apprehension? We expect security agents. What the statement from, the statement from the Commissioner of Police after that public video was to say that they are investigating it. You'd expect that with that kind of public glaring affront, that the security agencies would pick up such a person for investigations.
Do you know something called the deep fake? Have you heard of it before? When somebody will do a video that will be so real that you will believe the person. I have one where they did for Obama, and it was so real until Obama denied it. Because it was his voice, it was the same mouth movie. It's a matter of journey. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just giving an example. That's why the police will tell you that they will investigate.
It's not just one, several.
It doesn't have to, it could be 500. The police will still investigate. Well, the point you are trying to make, which I understand, which I agree with you, is that he ought to have been invited. But even with the invitation, all he has to do is deny.
Because even people who haven't done as much as that get invited to answer questions.
Give me 3 names.
We're talking about even when it comes to financial crimes, and there are allegations pointing towards someone.
Those are financial crimes. So
this is a video. We see it, it's out there on social media. A lot of Nigerians have seen it. And the question is, why is it a case of animal farm where some animals are greater or more important than some animals, and then some people do not get to get questioned for their actions?
Again, you are getting emotive. You are not a police officer.
I'm not, but
a police officer will tell you, listen. Police officer will tell you. And don't forget NSAS. What about police assuming that somebody wearing dreads is already automatically a criminal? And you are telling me there's a video of a man with a son, I have a son who wears dreads, and automatically he's a criminal. So I have video of him using dreads, and then just call the police to arrest him.
So he's inviting him, already criminalizing him.
Precisely, because like I said, if you listen to what I said, and I agree with you, the only thing they could do is invite him, but it doesn't mean they will not investigate.
It was on a platform where even some groups were strategizing as regards how to curb this issue. And a lot of advice that came in for ladies moving group. Because you never can tell. Someone was saying that this
100,000 henchmen. How can 100,000 henchmen stop a determined 7 million voters?
Well, you already made the point that there's even no way going on.
Well, people have picked sides, which is unfortunate.
Going on.
Well, people have picked sides, which is unfortunate. And whoever wins, the consequences will be felt down the line 20, 30 years from now. And that to me is the danger of all the rhetorics that is going on. Like I said, it's normal for this season for people to drag up ethnicities or religion. It's part and parcel of the democratic process. But once the elections are over, normally everybody will congregate around the winner to move the state forward.
Before you move on, let me quickly take you up on the ethnicity and religiosity going on, especially right now. It looks to be more intense this time around, and one would wonder why, because we should be moving towards issue-based politics, talking about what are the things that Lagos needs to move forward. How do we generate more power? How do we fix the roads? How do we ensure that the flood issues is being taken care of? Those are the issues that should be looked at. But this time around, it looks like ethnicity and religion has taken over the politics in Lagos.
It's part of the season. You can't really run from it. This time, the only difference is that it's on the surface. Normally, to be on the fringes. And then the majority will now do what you said. But, and it's not peculiar, what they call the nativity is going on all over the world. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. The white American male right now is feeling threatened because in the next few years he will become a minority in the US where he used to be #1. So he will now do anything possible to ensure that he doesn't become irrelevant. That is an understandable logic. No matter how much you pretend it's not. The American male will be a minority by the time of the next election. Not the white people, sorry, the American white male will become a minority in America. That means the other ethnicities and the women, there will be more of them, and that means they can now drive the narration forward for the American people.
No.
And they will resist it. And it's happening in Germany. It's happening in Japan. Nativity is crawling into our politics, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world. Indigenous people are asserting themselves about what settlers are bringing in and resisting it. Even in London. No, nobody will tell you publicly, but we know the undercurrents of how London runs and how the Asian people are starting getting more power and how they are being resented. That you cannot wish away. Not only peculiar to Lagos. I was in Owerri, and I know Owerri man who was telling me that all the people had bought up all the lands in Owerri. Same thing with Port Harcourt. When I used to live in Rumola, and the people local people would tell me what the Igbos and the Weres are doing to them. On a smaller scale, but you cannot wish it away. Don't let's pretend to ourselves.
Yeah, but why is it more intense this time around?
It is the season. I've answered the question already. I said normally this will happen.
The question is, why is it heightened this time around? We expect that with all of the enlightenment, sensitization, and all of the awareness that went on, towards the election, that people would be more, enlightened towards what the questions they actually have to ask.
What do you mean by enlightened?
Are you saying people are not more educated politically?
What has education got to do with my...
No, I mean when it comes to getting informed about how, those who you're putting into office, the things you should require of them.
Why do you think Fox News was so popular? And why do you think another station in Lagos was popular now? Because people go to news channels to get validation. They've made up their minds. Don't get it. I could deliver a lecture on this that will take hours. People have already made up their minds what to do. They go to stations that validate their positions. So when somebody is enlightened, it doesn't really matter. My self-interest, like Barrister will say, sometimes your self-interest will override your sense of logic.
Does that have anything to do with your religion also?
It has to do with religion, it has to do with ethnicity, it has to do... Some people just hate you the way you dress, or the way you talk, or the way you look. There's no rhyme or reason. You just have to accept it as part of our humanity.
So you're saying there's no going away from this?
You are not running away from it soon.
How about
That's why I said the danger, sorry. That's why the danger will be felt 20, 30 years. Normally, this will disappear after the election. But the toxicity that we are going through is so much that it will take about a generation to weed it out of our system. Because the genie is already out of the bottle. And I'm being frank here. That's the reality we face. When people tell me people are enlightened, the constitution, these are just jokes to entertain small people. People are primordial because that's who they are.
So there's nothing like one Nigeria, is that what you're saying?
There's never anything like one Nigeria. I've not met a Nigerian. I've met a Nigerian carrying Nigerian passport, don't get me wrong. But I'm yet to meet a Nigerian. I meet an Igbo person, I meet a Yoruba person, I meet an Edo person. And everyone says, when I talk about Yoruba, I know a Yoruba boy whose mother was another tribe, whose wife was another tribe, whose grandmother was another tribe. Yet he carries it on his head. So don't let's fool ourselves. Don't let's pretend that we don't know this is the reality we live.
So
Okay, go on.
Talk to us about the fact that, of course, we know, like you said, when it comes to election, it is a norm for people to start lacing up, elections with ethnicity, religion, and all of that. But talk to us about this issue of godfatherism. Because I've got to listen to one or two of these opposition parties, and they say their reason of not associating with this particular party is as a result of not getting a second approval from the godfather. And of course, there's this notion in the air that Lagos, as we speak, has been ruled by proxy by one man for close to 20 years. Don't you think that's also logical? At least for development to thrive, for a governor to run without getting a second approval?
Do you know that in Jigawa, Sule Lamido is running, his son is running? Do you know that in Delta, one man has been in charge of the state since 1999? He's been installing governors, removing them. I can name nothing less than 7 states. So what you are saying is not peculiar to Lagos.
Does it make it okay?
No, it's not a matter of being okay. It's a matter of expanding your mind to know that it's not peculiar. The problem I face with younger journalists is this. We assume that there is no history. And what is happening now is new. There was a time in Lagos that Yoruba and Igbo brought cutlasses to kill each other as far back as 1954.
There was a time in Lagos where a royal father issued a threat that if people do not vote for a preferred candidate, they will be hauled into a lagoon.
And the royal father, is there a royal father for the entire Lagos state or for Lagos Island? Did the Olu of Keja issue that threat? Did the Young of Ikorodu issue the threat? Did the Akran of Badagry issue the threat? Which other thing is there? Because again, you micromanage information and you now turn it to a national thing. The king that made the threat was talking to his chiefs in his palace on an island in a state that the island is a very small part of. And then people come to me and he said he will throw, because he doesn't have the power to throw you into the lagoon in the Butemeta, for example, because the Awori has their own king. He doesn't have the right to throw into the lagoon in Ikorodu, because the Obadia didn't say he will throw into the lagoon. I'm not against the question you are raising. I'm just saying stop assuming that one person's opinion represents the whole. It is not true. And this is what is killing the young ones.
So should we not move beyond that idea of allowing one person to dictate rather than allowing the people to choose who they want?
One person will dictate. Nigeria has been under, I wrote a piece that really got me into trouble. I call it Nigerian PLC. And normally I'll write a satire. I'm still going to write it for this election. It's basically looking at Nigeria as a company and the president as a CEO. But we know those who own Nigeria because the soldiers never left. That's the reality until this election. A soldier has always been on the ballot until this election. I can sit here and deliver for you 18 hours straight of Nigeria history to tell you why this is not peculiar. All right. Nothing is happening now that has not happened before.
All right, we will definitely continue that conversation, but we have to now speak with our correspondent at Ibafo, that's Caroline Elegalam. Good morning, Caroline. Bring us up to speed on the situation of things in Ibafo. Caroline, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
All right, tell us what's happening in the
okay, I'm currently at the police station, pulling units.
Okay, looks like that's quite distorted. We might have to get back to Caroline, of course, like more of people coming out and then not being given that opportunity to vote.
Okay, tell me this. Do you know any, apart from in the entire picture? Okay, the child...
Nigerians, electorate, who had the constitutional right to exercise their franchise were disenfranchised. Are you making light of the fact that they were not able to cast their ballot?
Somebody has ruled this country with 30% turnout. It's the majority of that 30% that elected him. And he ruled for 8 years.
We shouldn't normalize those kind of things.
And I'm not even talking about Nigeria, I'm talking about the US.
So the fact that it happened in the US doesn't make it right.
The whole question. Voter party cannot be curtailed because there's freedom I can choose to get the PVC because it may affect my business down the line, and decide not to vote.
Should we go the way of Australia? You know, in places like Australia where it is mandatory for you to vote, and when you don't vote, you have some consequences to face. Do you think?
If you make it mandatory, what's the guarantee that the result you get will still not be the same thing you are getting now? People reflect. That's why Yoruba people say, not Yoruba people, Vox Populi Vox Dei is the voice of the people. That's the voice of God. That means, on the average, any psychologist will tell you that, on the average, whatever the majority tends to like.
Hold your thoughts. Then we have to join our correspondent, Caroline Elegalam, who is right there at Ibafo for us. Caroline, good to have you back. Tell us what's going on at that polling unit.
All right. So, like I said earlier, voting here is ongoing, and it's peaceful. Just that the turnout is low compared to what happened during the presidential election.
What time? What time the voting starts?
Okay, started around past 9.
Okay. So it's not a repeat of what happened
so this
at
is
the last election.
09.
What about Ibafo Market Square? Have you been there this morning? Is there any INEC presence?
Because they know I'll be there.
We like to leave the best for the last part.
So the point I'm making is this. We should, as journalists, ask the tough questions, but put it in the greater level so people will understand better. Because most of the time, and it's not only you guys, we all suffer from it. I have my own biases. But as an analyst, I must put those biases aside and look at it plainly. And when you look at it plainly, I have a boss who told me that if you take decisions based on facts, you'll be 99% correct all the time. That deliberately you're angry at this moment. Don't take that, don't sack that boy. Don't do anything. Just relax. Then look at the facts. Chances are the decision you take is the correct one. So I just want Nigerians to know that, like I said earlier, based on your question. Okay, you wanted to ask me another question?
Yeah, that was when we were entertaining.
Okay,
now, looking at the fact that, let's move over to FCT. There will be no state assembly elections in the FCT.
No.
What do you think about, individuals, residents and indigenes that will be disenfranchised?
They know the law. They know the law before they moved there. Abuja was creation of law.
What if some people were born there?
It doesn't matter.
Aside from the fact that some might have moved there due to job.
What you think is happening to Abuja has also happened to Washington, D.C. We have people that are now looking for statehood. Even in Washington, I think they have a House of Rep member. They have a senator, but they don't have a governor.
The Constitution actually even confers the whole, governance of Abuja to the federal government. The National Assembly is supposed to be the state assembly for the Federal Capital Territory. But let's wrap this up by talking about the traditional ruler. We've been talking about ethnicity, religion.
To inform you, and you make sure you don't stay out at night. It's because of politics. Like I said, these are fallouts of this season that we are in. In 2 months, another town will do, and nothing will happen. In 3 months, another town will do. People do it all the time.
So you don't subscribe to the comments or the agitation?
No, the social media has given a lot of, I don't know whether I'm allowed to use the word, morons, a key to have opinions that they don't normally have. Because when you look at something, you will have to wait with the background, whether it's cultural or even professional, like we are doing here. And then you don't call me and say, you have been insulting.
But not everyone might know you to have some.
No, I'm just saying, somebody out there will take offense. But on my behalf, it's not me. But somebody out there watching will say, how can they be calling GKB? I'm calling him by name. How does that start? You know who he is.
All right, GKB, we have to wrap this up.
Somebody will not start a war. That's how it starts. The Oba who does this know that exactly the 2 end at 5:30 because I know cannot see sunrise. So when everyone decide that's going to affect the election, I said, it can't be this slow.
Okay, I think that's a better word. But let's just
because the Oro cannot be seen in the afternoon, and Oro cannot see sunrise. That's against tradition.
But you also have to understand that not everybody understands how this things work.
Yeah, they should ask. Don't just assume because you have a phone and 200 data that you have an opinion. It's not true. That's why I give you my own example. People outside there will fight. See, because somebody is calling me by name. That doesn't matter because this is the job I do.
But is it out of place for some persons to just reason and think that for the sake of this election, can it be postponed?
There are things that must be done at a particular time. If you're a cultural person, you will know that New Yam Festival has a particular period. So you are telling me that if there's a New Yam Festival that you must do within 30 days of harvest, this is the law in some communities, and election happens to be right in the middle, smack in the middle of the New Year Festival, you are not going to do it. Because there's somebody who accuse you of eating yam when you are supposed to be eating rice. That is political New Year Festival. Because right now we are supposed to be eating indomie and not yam. People have to apply number 6 to things they say. And I'm not talking about those even small boys. I'm talking about even senior journalists who want to know better, who get carried away with emotions, instead of now trying to logically explain. Because I keep asking questions. Our job is 4 W's and the H. Why, when, why, how? That's what we do. That's our job as journalists. You must ask. And then if it doesn't fit into those particular things, then it's not news.
That's why I'm asking you. So is it out of place to shift it?
No, it is out of place. It is out because sometimes you have to do things that are with, because they shifted it for it. I like the fact that young people are interested, but let them base their interest on grounded facts.
You've not answered my question.
Which one?
Do you think INEC is better prepared
for this
election?
They are better prepared, or there will be problems. That's why I gave you that answer. There are those challenges that they will face, where they will fail, if it does not fundamentally affect the election.
All right. I think that's a fine place to anchor it. Thank you so much, Gani Kayode Balogun, Public Affairs Analyst, for the insightful analysis this morning.
Yeah.
Well, we'll continue the show after this. Of course, we still have plenty more for you, guests in the studio, and of course our correspondents across the nation, bringing us up to speed on how elections are panning out in different parts of the country. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
TV, channel 143 on the StarTimes network and all social media platforms. IBrandTV, business first.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Economy.
I am not a supporter of this government.
Sports.
Firpo for Rodrigo.
Entertainment. Health, relationships.
What makes you think I want to get married?
And lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on StarTimes Channel 143.
Are you a content creator, podcaster, voiceover artist, or show producer in need of a studio space or equipment for your project? Then look no further. We got you covered. With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. For further inquiries, call 081-8236-4120 or you can call
up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion.
With over 200 million people, Africa's largest economy has a story to tell. It's the story of an economy that has the ability to develop from its better than also on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business
Better than also on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics,
It is all politics.
economy,
I am not a supporter of this government.
sports,
Firpo for Rodrigo.
entertainment, health, relationships,
What makes you think I want to get married?
and lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on Star Times Channel 143.
Are you a content creator, podcaster, voiceover artist, or show producer in need of a studio space or equipment for your project? Then look no further. We got you covered. With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. For further inquiries, call 081-8236-4120 or you can call 070-68000168 or visit our head office.
Up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion. On IBrandTV, brands and fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you
Africa's largest economy has a story to tell. It's the story of an economy that has the ability to develop from a single-digit to double-digit GDP growth rate. In the last 5 years, over 41.5 million micro, small and medium-sized firms, as well as about 17.4 million registered SMEs, have accounted for nearly 48% of the national GDP. This is the narrative of Nigeria's economy, which is bursting at the seams with possibilities, from the stock market to maritime, agriculture to telecommunications, power, ICT, and oil and gas, among other areas of the economy. No one does it better than also on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on Star Times Channel 143.
Are you a content creator, podcaster, voiceover artist, or show producer in need of a studio space or equipment for your project? Then look no further. We got you covered. With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. As a voter with disability, please pay attention to this Election Day voting procedure. Don't be afraid. The National Disability Law prohibits discrimination against voters with disabilities at the polling unit. The Electoral Act have mandated INEC to ensure that as citizens with disabilities, you are entitled to priority voting, braille ballot for the blind, magnifying glasses for albinos, Election Day instructions to support the deaf, among other provisions. Election starts at 8:30 a.m. at every polling station. When you get to the polling station, present your PVC for accreditation using BVAS. At the polling booth, check to be sure your name is on the voters register for that polling unit. Then ensure you get authenticated on the BVAS using your fingerprint or facial recognition. Once you have been accredited, you will be
fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion. On IBrandTV, brands and fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone.
To develop from a single-digit to double-digit GDP growth rate. 5 million micro, small and medium-sized firms, as well as about 17.4 million registered SMEs, have accounted for nearly 48% of the national GDP. This is the narrative of Nigeria's economy, which is bursting at the seams with possibilities, from the stock market to maritime, agriculture to telecommunications, power, ICT, and oil and gas, among other areas of the economy. No one does it better than us on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
All right, you're welcome back. My name is Rose Blossom Mwe, and of course, this is Nigeria Decide 2023. We've been going through a whole lot, the IREV, the BVAS, and everything. And so far, so good. Lagos is still quite, quiet and easygoing when it comes to the polling unit and, of course, the voting. And yes, we have my co-host here, Bola, which will probably give us an update quickly before we introduce our
we've been
guest.
talking about different things, talking about voter apathy, talking about the fact that Nigerians are still coming out in their numbers, despite the fact that, the last election, presidential and National Assembly, wasn't really up to a lot of people's expectations. And then also there are also talks about how voting has already commenced in different places. That's against the notion that INEC would repeat what they did the last time, because as at the last time, as at 12 noon, so many polling units had no INEC presence.
True.
But this time around, we've heard from some of our correspondents who have told us that as at 9 o'clock, voting already commenced, accreditation already started. And then we've already talked about the coloration that ethnicity and religion is giving these particular elections, especially at hotspots like Lagos State, where you now have people voting along ethnic lines and already campaigning along ethnic lines as against, looking at the issues and focusing on what each candidate can bring on board. And so we're going to be looking at all of this. We're also going to be focusing on women in politics, how that has affected or how the participation has been. Will it improve this time around? Well, from what we've seen, it doesn't look like it's going to improve because so far from the National Assembly polls that happened during the presidential and National Assembly elections, we see that only 3 women have been declared winners. That are the Senate, and then only 15 at the House of Reps. That's nothing to go by, especially when you look at the statistics. While 141st out of 146 nations, and that's nothing to really write home about. But we'll be looking at all of this, and joining us in the studio to further discuss this is Adeyemi. He would be, of course, looking at all of these issues with us. Adeyemi Ajayi, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure you've...
You know, politics is an uncertain thing, okay? You know, politics is an uncertain thing, okay? We cannot say too much about where it's going to swing, but there is high level of tension, political tension, looking at the configuration of especially Lagos State. You know, yeah, there are a lot of people who will likely have to come out to vote this time around, especially in Lagos where the ethnic game or ethnic card is being played. You know, there will be a lot of people that want to come and prove a point that yes, we did it the last time, we can do it again. Again, there will be some people that want to come and defend their position that what happened the last time cannot repeat itself. And a lot of comments, statements being made by parties, you know, threats and all that. Some people are ready to go out to douse the threat and also to express their right to vote. So I think in terms of swinging, there will be a lot of ethnic battle. I see it.
It's already
happening already. Yeah, it's not like it's going to be a physical thing, but the result of the poll will show that, you know, some people have more interest than the other. And of course, it's still on the edge of the coin, I would say. But if you ask me strongly, people will still, especially in Lagos, will want to come out to vote. Because the last result, lots of people are not happy with it. Yeah. They'll still want to come out and say, okay, if we're not happy, let us try again.
Change things around. Yeah. But you talked about the threat, and I'm really concerned about that because I was talking about it earlier, the fact that non-state actor or somebody who feels that he has a say in who wins the elections comes out and says, if you're not voting for a particular candidate or for a particular party, then don't come out to vote. And such affront is, you know, allowed to pass by without any form of invitation from the police. The commissioner of police comes out and says, we're investigating to see what actually transpired in that particular meeting. When there is a video out there showing and proving that this person actually made the statement. So what are your thoughts?
You know what, Bola? I think the update right now is a particular Lagos Police Command actually came out and said they are investigating, while another, not in Lagos basically, was saying that he was just playing around.
Yeah, it was just a joke.
That is expensive.
No, that's even... The fact that they could even come out to call it a joke, is it a joke on Nigerians?
I think they are the jokes.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
maybe.
We should put it that way. I mean, that's what I would say. Because somebody cannot come out and issue a threat and say that is a joke.
The F1
you are the joker calling it a joke.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to handle such thing with kids' glove. What they are telling us is forget about it. So if it happens, there will be casualties, you know. And let me also tell you that the person who has made that statement is a major stakeholder in politics in Southwest, not only in Lagos State. He's a major stakeholder because they have their networks. You know, they have their network to the extent that they have a thought, they have a belief, they believe that there are things they can do and get away with. In a saner climb, such person should have been invited and asked to refute such statements, and so that there will be peace. That enough can create tension. That can create fear in the minds of people. Okay. But let me tell you, people are ready to defend.
I'm sorry to actually cut you. We have one of our correspondents right now live that would like to give us a feedback on what's going on in the area. Let's have you, please.
Kaide Shokwakon, good morning. Tell us what's happening at your polling unit.
Good morning, Omobolale. It's going peacefully here, as you can see behind me. Just a few moments ago, it was...
Tell us where you are. What polling unit is that, Kaide?
Okay, I am at polling unit 6006 and 007, Ward 15.
Okay, we can barely hear you now. That's quite muffled up. We might have to get...
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Is it possible for you to move away from where you are and also take the mic closer to your mouth so we can hear you?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, much better. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I am at polling unit 006 and 007, Ward 15, Lagos Island.
Okay.
Where the governor, the incumbent Lagos State governor, has just casted his ballot. A few moments ago here, it was really tense with journalists and people of Lagos trying to have a side of the governor casting his vote. And I can tell you authoritatively that the governor was happy with the process, casting his vote and appreciating Lagosians for coming out in their numbers.
A few trickles of people, is that some form of voter apathy, or are we to expect more people as the day goes on?
Well, the crowd here has actually dispersed because about 10 minutes ago, the governor came here to cast his ballot, to carry out his civic duty, and the place was really, crowded, with people trying to have a sight of the governor, with journalists doing their jobs and all that. Everybody was here, and the whole site was really, crowded. But I can tell you now that the place, like you said, the place is looking a little bit discarded because people have gone. But initially, when the governor came in, or before he came in, the place initially wasn't really, crowded because people were thinking, where would he come, where would he not come, and all that. But when he immediately showed up, people started trooping in. We went into the information that the governor was coming. People started trooping in. Those who wanted to see the governor, those who wanted to take shots with him, those who wanted to hail him as usual now of Lagosians, those who wanted to hail him and all that. And also the security operatives were also on ground to ensure that there was peace and orderliness. But it's Lagos. You can't always have the peace that you want. You can't always have the orderliness that you want.
Well, I guess that's true for every part of the country. But tell us, are there any signs of vote buying in that place, whether discreetly or openly?
Well, from what I have seen thus far, there's no sign of vote buying. But if pockets of people saying or advising others saying vote OPC, vote this, vote that, you can't but always have that. But
the subtle campaign is still going on.
Subtle, yeah, subtle. Like I said.
And the security agents, then what are they doing about it?
They're going about their jobs peacefully. We have men of the police force, we have men of the immigration officers. We also have them on the ground, and we also have observers all around monitoring the process.
All right, Kayode Shokpa there for us on Lagos Island. Well, thank you so much for the updates. We'll keep in touch with you to get more updates right there from Lagos Island. Thank you.
Happened during the presidential election to repeat itself this time around. Just a heads up.
Okay, great one there. But I think Andrew Abo joins us now via Zoom. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. Good morning to you, Andrew. If you can hear me, it's good to have you on the show. All right, we would, of course, link back with Andrew when he's able to join us. But look at what was mentioned. Of course, it's good news that voting has started in that particular polling unit, especially the incumbent governor, Sanwo-Olu, already cast his ballot. But he mentioned a lot of issues, but most concerning is the subtle campaign he talked about. There are security agents on ground, but they are, turning the other way and looking like nothing is happening. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah, that happens everywhere. And most times in the past elections that we had in Nigeria, you have sort of campaigns. People come in to meet you, tell you to vote this and vote that. But one thing is the security agents at most polling units are usually overwhelmed.
But in this case, overwhelmed, it doesn't look like the situation is overwhelming.
Oh, well.
These are people you can count on your fingers. It's not overpopulated.
We can call it a kind of tactical compromise. Let me use that word in quotes. But of course, when I say that, is because when people don't come alive to their responsibilities, it's assumed that they compromise that situation.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me put a pause to that there. We would, of course, continue with you. But let's join Andrew Abo, who is joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Andrew. All right, I was just trying to establish a connect there, but it looks apparently.
I think.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay.
All right, thank you for joining us. What do you make of the situation of things in different parts of the country? It looks like INEC is better prepared this time around because we see voting already on the way in different parts of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following up on events across the country, and so far the reportage from different states has been positive. Okay, so we'll still be monitoring the issues, monitoring the situation as it goes.
Okay, so let's look at the issue of voter apathy. Do you think that that would be the case this time around? Because a lot of Nigerians, some Nigerians have lost faith in the process, looking at what happened at the February 25th elections.
Okay, so I think first of all, we need to establish the fact that voter apathy has always been one of the major challenges we have in our electioneering process.
But there were high hopes that it would reduce this time around, especially with 87.2 million people getting their PVCs.
Yeah, so we've always had high numbers of registered voters. You know, that has never been in contention. So, but as it stands, we've always had voter apathy. So if you look at from now, so can you hear me in the studio?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so if you compare 2019 and 2023, you will observe that there's a decline, you know, in the voting, in the turnout of voting, you know, in 2023. So I feel that there's a lot that has to be done, and this is not just for INEC. You know, civil society, political parties, and all the bodies that can, even religious and cultural bodies that can, you know, enlighten people on how important, you know, casting your vote is. You know, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done in that regard. Then also we have people that don't believe in the process. You know, but whether you like it or not, you believe in the process or you don't believe in the process is going to work anyways, and votes will be counted, votes will be casted, votes will be counted, and the winner will be declared. You know, so I think people need to come out more to exercise their rights of voting, you know, for their respective candidates.
Yeah. So it's one thing for clerics and policy leaders and different, you know, leaders in different circles to come out to sensitize people on the need to vote. But another thing, when violence and voter intimidation is the order of the day, because when you look at the percentage of those who voted in 2019, which was actually described as the lowest since 1999, if you look at the level or the reduced number of people who came out this time around, that's even going below, way below what we had in 2019. And a lot of people had predicted before now that it was going to be massive, especially looking at the number of people who collected their PVC. That's why I'm more concerned about the fact that it's not even a case of people not coming out to vote. It's a case of people being disenfranchised, going out to vote with all the expectations, but then not having that opportunity to vote because there was no INEC presence, because there was voter intimidation, because there was violence. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, absolutely. It shows that people do not have confidence in the process, first. And most times during an election, you see people being afraid, you know, coming out because of the likely violence that may happen. So people want to preserve, at least protect themselves first. But unfortunately, if you look at it, the number of people even deciding who goes to be our president is about 10% of our entire population. And if 10% can decide the destiny of 100% of us, then there is trouble. If you go to advanced environment, you see more people voting, you know, coming out, showing interest in the process. But again, from what happened, National Orientation Agency should take up this responsibility. I see a very big problem with the way the electoral process is designed. So if you register in a particular place, you rather go there. Or why can't you vote anywhere? Why can't I go to somewhere and take my card and say, I want to vote here? And once I vote, I cannot vote again. There should be a process. Technology is there. You know, I can even be in my house to say, okay, let us deploy technology for me to vote without me going to anywhere out there if I want to protect myself. What about the elderly people that cannot even go out to queue? You know, all those people within that circle, you know, we have issues that we need to manage.
Okay. Anyways, I said something about voters' education.
Yeah.
That's the electoral education. Now, the thing is 4 years not enough for this education to actually come in place based on looking at what is going on the voter party? Because I must say, looking at what happened in the presidential election, I think is what is partially affecting this present one we're having. So what do you say? What's the difference? What happened within the 4 years that we could not achieve this education to the electorate?
Yeah, if you look at it, the number of people, the process keeps changing. The last process changed from this, and no enough sensitization and awareness for people to know so many things. Many people are coming out to tell you different things.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, it's a fault of the government, because the government should take responsibility for educating people about the electoral processes.
There's a voter education department in INEC. Shouldn't it be their responsibility to do that?
Unfortunately, you see, the model of educating people is not just about technology.
Of
INEC
course.
has one of the most active Twitter handles I've seen. But how many of these market women have Twitter handles? Do they go to the market to reach out to them? What about people at different...
We saw snippets of that, them going to the marketplaces to educate people as regards the voting process and all of that. You don't think that was effective?
Also the grassroots. How about the grassroots?
Exactly. What's the you see, if you go to the interiors, most of them, unless there is election, that's when people go to see them there. And those little pockets, across the country form the larger populace that we have. So there is need for us to dig deeper and have even ambassadors amongst those people to continue to educate them, to know how the process and everything pans out. What they all know. In fact, some don't even know how to turn print. They just get there and tell them that this is what you should do, and the mama will just like, okay, you told me, let me do it. They don't even know what they're doing. Some. So there is need to open up and also let people know in their own local language. I think INEC should have representatives in different places, not until when there is election. I mean, people should go and access information.
I don't know how feasible that would be, because even logistics is a big issue, and they've been preparing for 4 years. But let's come to Andrew. Now, Andrew, let's talk about vote buying. A lot of people have predicted that with the return or the ruling by the Supreme Court, and of course the statement by the CBN that the old Naira note should remain legal tender till December the 31st, that this time around vote buying may be more rife than it was during the last elections. What are your thoughts?
Okay, at least from what I've monitored so far, I don't think there have been anywhere that the incident of vote buying has, come up. And also in the polling units across the country that I've also, watched from different TV stations, there are INEC officials, EFCC officials, going around polling units to ensure that there is no vote buying. And it's pertinent for me to say this, that
intention to really do that. Probably at some point some people knew and decided to bring this cashless punishment, let me put it, upon us. It's good for the economy one way, it's also bad the other way. However, did that really stop vote buying? Even with the cashless thing, some people could have devised a means, of doing things differently. But this time around, from what the information I've been able to gather and all that, I do not see it happening, like that. Even the banks that we're talking about, they don't even have cash to even give. So what are we talking about? Probably after the election, there may be some kind of, post-election
inducement. That will no longer be inducement. That will be appreciation.
Like appreciation. Thank you for what you did. So it's now being paid after service, not you are being paid before service. So all these are things that may likely happen. But again, if such thing happen, you will know who voted for who. So the appreciation goes to who? Maybe to all. But okay, unfortunately,
let me push this to Andrew. Andrew, are you still with us?
I'm here. Okay,
let's say next 4 years, definitely we'll be having another election. What do you think could be, aside from the, how do I put it? Okay, aside from every other thing, how best can you think we should educate the voters, of course, on how to go about this election, and also to reduce voters' apathy? Because it's as good as saying you can't even reduce it, but how do you think it's visible enough that we could actually, you know, make this thing as much as no noise as possible? That's the voters' apathy. How best do you think we'll go about that?
You meet a Nigerian, you're looking at, we had a guest earlier on, and he was talking about the fact that when he meets a Nigerian, he's not seeing a Nigerian, he's seeing a Yoruba person, he's seeing an Igbo man, he's seeing a Hausa woman.
We have a country called Nigeria without Nigerians. Yeah, we have a country called Nigeria without Nigerians.
That's deep.
That's very deep. You only get to connect with a Nigerian when you're outside this country. When you go outside Nigeria, that is when you meet a Nigerian.
You're not looking at the tribe.
You're not looking at the tribe. But once you are in Nigeria, the moment you introduce yourself, they say, oh, the moment you mention a name, you are Igbo, you are Yoruba. For God's sake, we don't need to do that. And let me tell you, that has pushed us back many years, many centuries, many decades. We don't need to go that way. We should rather be looking for competence. Religion is a thing between you and God. Ethnicity, you do not choose to be Yoruba or Igbo.
No.
You were born to be that. You know, I met a Jamaican some time ago. He put white bottles, you know, 3 different white bottles, and he put different content inside. Black, green, red. And he said, what is the color of the bottle? And I said, well, it's white. All the 3 bottles are white. Then he called another person. I said, what is the color of the bottle? He said, oh, this color is red. This color is... He said, we see it differently. He said, you choose to know it because you were there when I poured the content. But the next person doesn't know. So what is that telling us? We're all same. We're just different content. And our content is what should fuse us, not what should divide us. But let me tell you, if I become Nigeria's president today, I'll have a roadmap that wherever you are born should be your state of origin. So if
and religion, you see what's playing out in Lagos State, especially the political parties campaigning along the lines of ethnicity and different religions, and of course that has caused a lot of crises, especially on we saw the market fire, which was suspected to be politically driven. What are your thoughts on how divided we are when it comes to ethnic, our different ethnic backgrounds and religion?
Okay, so it's very regrettable and very sad that at this point of our nation development, we find ourselves in...
We'll link back up with Andrew. But let me hear your thoughts on competence, you know, debate, and how to, you know, channel all of this to hearing from the political office holders or intending office holders.
Yeah, one of the things that is quite surprising to me is that if people want to contest for a particular position or office, they should be bold to come out and talk to people. You know, that's when we'll be able to assess them and know that, okay, these are the people that are okay. Again, let's go back to the way we are being configured as a nation. Unfortunately, you'll get to know that whether I come out to talk to people or not, there are machineries in place, there are systems in place that can advance my cause to get in there. And of course, one of it is rigging, you know, which I think is an ethical thing. It happens virtually everywhere, but people have confidence in certain design that I don't really understand. You know, whether people are competent or not, there are things that will just advance them to that position. Now, how do we assess competence? We should first know what we want as a nation. You know, what do we want from these candidates? What do we want the next person to do for us? As a country, as a nation, one of the things we want now is economic emancipation. We need to get out of so many economic problems. Security issues are there. Power issues is there. So we need people or someone that will come out and say, I know the problem or the problems. These are my solutions to these problems. Everybody should do that part. And we should be able to assess who has the capacity, what are their track records, what have they done, what are they capable of doing. That should be the basis of us going to polls, but not the basis of the fact that you are Yoruba, you are Igbo, I am Hausa, we're this, so, and you are a Muslim, I'm a Christian. Those things are just elements of confusion. They use them to confuse people that are less educated, you know. And by the time people follow that line, you may even discover that the person you are voting for, that is your tribesman or woman, may not even have that thing upstairs. But people have that, you know, alignment because of, you know, it's my tribe's person, it's my religious group member. All those things should just totally be, you know, taken out. We don't need them. We need result. We need someone that can deliver result to us. Unfortunately, we're just battling between two religious groups, Christian, Muslim. If somebody comes out in Nigeria today and he said, I am Babalawo and I want to be Nigeria's president, what do you think will happen to that person? They say, no way. They won't give that person a chance. I'm not saying that I subscribe to that, you know, but what I'm trying to say is those elements should be totally eliminated.
Okay, all right. Let's quickly go on a break and we'll be right back to continue the program. Stay with us.
It's 2023 live coverage brought to you by IBrandTV, channel 143 on the StarTimes network and all social media platforms. IBrandTV, business first.
By God's grace, by the end of today, the reign and chokehold of violence and thuggery on Lagos State will be done.
What's your assessment of the situation here?
And this Oche has always been a peaceful
stretch your hand now. You're blocking
area. We are a community. We know ourselves. We've never really had any cause for alarm or issues. I'm very surprised about what I'm hearing about Computer Village, but a team has been sent there to try and monitor the situation and see what's going on. So I cannot use this as a benchmark to test anything. What we are looking at is in IBA, as at now, polling materials have not yet been delivered. In parts of Alimosho, polling materials have still not been delivered. Apparently, INEC officials are saying that they were not paid for the last election, so they are not going to come out to take the materials to the field, which you know is just a ploy to disenfranchise voters.
A letter has been circulating this morning that you have been replaced by another candidate.
That is nonsense, you see. I think that is coming from the Jandor camp. I won't say the PDP camp because the PDP has dissociated itself from all of that nonsense. We went to court, at the High Court, we defeated him because we have his letter of withdrawal. That was the basis on which a supplementary election was done, a substitution election. And at the appeal court, his case was thrown out, and he never filed anything at the Supreme Court, so that case is dead and gone.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Economy.
I am not a supporter of this government.
Sports.
Firpo for Rodrigo.
Entertainment. Health. Relationships.
What makes you think I want to get married?
And lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to
8182364120, or you can call 07068000168, or visit our head office at number 12 Old Olowara Road, Ojodu Berger, Lagos.
As a voter with disability, please pay attention to this Election Day voting procedure. Don't be afraid. The National Disability Law prohibits discrimination against voters with disabilities at the polling unit. The Electoral Act have mandated INEC to ensure that as citizens with disabilities, you are entitled to priority voting, braille ballot for the blind, magnifying glasses for albinos, election day instructions to support the deaf, among other provisions. Election starts at 8:30 a.m. at every polling station. When you get to the polling station, present your PVC for accreditation using BVAS. At the polling booth, check to be sure your name is on the voters register for that polling unit. Then ensure you get authenticated on the BVAS using your fingerprint or facial recognition. Once you have been accredited, you will be issued a ballot paper. Go to the voting cubicle to make your choice in secret and drop your.
Take advantage of the opportunities IBrandTV brings to you live on Brandish Your Brand. For further inquiries, call 070-68000168 or you can call 080-8082-6735. Email marketing@ibrandtv.com. Brandish Your Brand live on IBrandTV, where business comes first.
We're still at the ballots, giving you a blow-by-blow account of how Nigerians are exercising their franchise right here on IBrandTV. Nigeria Decides 2023. And of course, Adeyemi is still with us, still looking at some of the issues happening across the country. But right now, the update we're getting is that the three major candidates in Lagos State have now cast their ballot. And of course, voting is underway in different parts of the state. Different local government, and we're seeing that the turnout isn't as much as it was during the February 25th election, but of course Nigerians are still trooping out there to exercise their franchise. But it's funny that, yes, we've been talking about a three-horse race. There are women in Lagos State, female candidates in Lagos State, but it looks like we don't talk about them. You recall that during the presidential elections also, we had female presidential candidates, that Chichi Ojei of the APM, who got about 25,000 votes, which is impressive, by the way, because if you look at the trajectory, right from time in 2011, we had Sarah Jibril, who had about 1 or 2 votes. So are things improving?
Yeah, I would say things are improving, but I think women should do more. Yeah.
Is it about the women doing more, or those who the patriarchs?
Yeah, we need to focus on the women.
Should make it easier for the women, or are you saying that the women aren't pushing enough?
Limitations that society places on women, coming from the part of tradition and religion. You know, there are major limitations that we should also look at in this part of the world, where people will sit down and say, no, a woman cannot be a leader. And I mean, the question is, what makes you think a woman cannot be a leader?
We won't focus on that cultural barrier, but let's look at this political situation, especially seeing that in Lagos State, we have at least 2 female candidates. One is from the APM. I can't remember the party of the other woman. Why isn't there so much noise around? Are they the ones not making the noise, or are they being shut down by some of these factors you've mentioned?
No, that before you can bring up that, if one of the women you mentioned is coming under either PDP, APC, or LP, which are the 3 major parties, then we can be having a different conversation. Yeah, but first you need to look at the strength of the party. You need to look at the influence of the woman herself within the states. So these women you mentioned, probably if you mention their names, people may not be able to relate with them. But if there are people that people know within Lagos that they are powerful, they are very, very influential that way, even the parties will start looking at bringing them closer and also advancing them to become the governor or something.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
because if you look at a state like Adamawa, you have the APC fielding a female candidate, quite impressive. Benani, she is quite popular when it comes to politics, and she was able to beat people like the former EFCC chairman Ribadu to the game, and she became the APC candidate. We also have another prominent woman in one other state, but looking at
Cross River.
Yeah.
No,
River State. So who is also, you know, vying for that position. So it's looking like some women are actually, you know, making that crossroad or making that headway, trying to break that glass ceiling. But that barrier, you talked about culture earlier. There's also that culture of silence where the woman shouldn't talk too much. And then political parties come up and say, we're not ready for a female candidate. Even in the United States, you'd recall during former President Donald Trump's tenure, when he was campaigning, there were talks about how Hillary Clinton would not win because even the biggest, you know, democracy, one of the biggest democracy, America, isn't ready for a female president.
Yeah, we wouldn't say America isn't ready because
I'm saying that was the notion in some circles.
Absolutely, you're very correct. But you see, by popular vote, Hillary Clinton won. But by the Electoral College, Donald Trump won, which decided whatever happens. But let's just come down here in Nigeria. The woman in Adamawa, I really want to give credit to her because she's quite very strong, you know, in terms of her political clout and capability. And she's somebody I strongly believe in can deliver results. You get my point? Now, I think that should start creating a space for what I call political mentorship for women. Most people that advance their political career do have political mentors, you know, so can that be created for the women as well? Also. Yeah, I think that is what we should be looking at. We should be looking at women in leadership and creating, not just within the corporate environment, but within the political circle. And at that point, we see how they grow within their career. Let me tell you, every party has growth structure. You know, we cannot, because of sentiment, say, oh, we want a woman, and bring somebody that cannot drive us to achieve what we want to achieve. No.
So you're basically talking about grassroots politics, starting from the basics.
Absolutely.
But let's also look at the fact that counterparts are buying them. You don't have to make things easier for them. What do you have to say about that?
There is equality, there is equity. They are two different things. Equality means that we have equal access to a certain level. You as a woman, you have that equal access to be Nigeria's president, as I have equal access to be Nigeria's president. But in terms of equity, that is when we now look at individual configuration. So as a woman, there are certain things you will need different from what I will need. For example, we don't have quite a number of women within politics. So in order to create equity, we make it easier for the woman to level up. Because if you put them on the same criteria of doing the same thing, definitely you have downplayed the woman's capability.
How so?
How so? Because you see, we don't have much women there. Now, let me ask you this. If they say that you have to buy from for 100 million, 100 million for the man, 100 million for the woman, look at the number of women we have in politics that will be able to afford that 100 million. Do you get my point? Not like we're saying most of them are poor, but again, there's this part of, you know, let's give room for the woman.
Are you saying funding is also one of the problems?
It's not. I'm just using that as an example to create that equity. Do you understand?
That you deserve a seat right beside a man, then you should be able to make that sacrifice, pay the price. For instance, they talk about the fact that men go for meetings.
Some of the things women suffer in politics. I'm being very honest to you. Even in business.
And you know, bad words fly very easily.
Easily, and you know, before you flip it, our reputation is down there, and she's struggling to say, no, it didn't happen. I went for political meeting, XYZ was there. I don't know if you understand.
Well, the end will eventually justify the means, don't you think?
But I think there should be configuration to really support women openly there. But our culture and tradition play a certain role that we should look into. You know, because there are certain cultures and traditions that still believe that the girl child cannot go to school. The girl child should be in the background. I support women rights organizations, a lot I work with, and I love the fact that there's been awareness amongst women to become entrepreneurs, to be socially independent, to start looking at financial independence. The African patriarchal system wants to put the woman in a subjective mode to the man. You know, submission and subservient are not the same thing. But I think we play card of subservient more than submission. You know, which I think the society should start viewing. And that is what will lead us to that equality and equity even in politics.
Indeed, that's a very fine note to leave it now. But we would be back. The conversation continues after this break. Don't go anywhere. It is still Nigeria Decides 2023 on IBrandTV.
6735. Email marketing@ibrandtv.com. Brandish your brand live on IBrandTV, where business comes first.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Economy.
I am not a supporter of this government.
Sports.
Firpo for Rodrigo.
Entertainment. Health. Relationships.
What makes you think I want to get married?
And lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on Star Times Channel 143.
Are you a content creator, podcaster, voiceover artist, or show producer in need of a studio space or equipment for your projects? Then look no further. We got you covered. With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. For further inquiries, call 081-8236-4120 or you can call 070-68000168 or visit our head office at number 12 Old Olowara Road, Ojodio Berger, Lagos.
Up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion? On IBrandTV, brands and fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone. And there is always the ever-fun glitch portion to keep you wanting more. Catch the thrill, the glitz and the glamour on brands and fashion. It's something you definitely do not want to miss.
The ride just started. Trust me, we have more of interesting rides for you.
It's all happening here on Star Times Channel 143.
The national GDP. This is the narrative of Nigeria's economy. Agriculture to telecommunications, power, ICT, and oil and gas, among other areas of the economy. No one does it better than those on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Economy.
I am not a supporter of this government.
Sports.
Firpo for Rodrigo.
Entertainment. Health. Relationships.
What makes you think I want to get married?
And lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on Star Times, channel 143.
Are you a content creator